far as like struggles, overcoming obstacles and stuff, what's Jacob? What's the main like insecurity struggle that you've overcome or are challenged with today?
I would say the biggest struggle that I overcame was being 350 pounds.
Yeah.
Being hella obese, man.
Yeah.
And it was
So that's not only physical, but it's mentally, emotional. Like it touches all realms of your identity and who you are.
oh, definitely,
Yeah.
because it got to the point where I thought there was definitely no way that I could overcome the obstacles that I was stuck in.
Right. I mean, I know a lot of people feel that way too, and not just with weight gain or whatever, but in general, when we feel like the odds are stacked up against us, it almost feels like it's inescapable. And I know what you had this personal trainer tell you like you need to readjust your mindset because that's not possible. You're not going to get down to 185 or whatever, and that's like
Right.
slap that dude. Like
Right.
what?
I was like, what? How are you gonna tell me?
Right. And now look at you now. What you weigh now?
178, something like that.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And how many years did it take you, to achieve that?
Just about 2 years, really.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I just grinded as hard as I could to get it done.
I say no crack diet, no Jenny crank diet, right?
Yeah, no,
drugs,
definitely
no
not.
drugs.
So, what did you do to cut down that much?
Well, so I was at a job to where I was working 60 to 75 hours a week anyways.
Yeah.
So I would look up nutrition and they would always say, I grew up in a household to where you would eat once a day. And I really didn't know that was not how it was supposed to be. So you would eat a bunch of food and then go the rest of the day and be fine. But when I researched it and realized you're supposed to have smaller portions throughout the day and eat like a hummingbird almost.
Yeah.
And set a cutoff point from when you would be done eating for that day. And then
Like a cat, basically.
yeah, basically, if you just throw it on a schedule, your body gets used to it.
Nice.
I mean, after the first 2 or 3 weeks sucked pretty bad.
So it's mostly diet?
Yeah. I mean, I did a little bit of cardio, but since I was working, I was checking my steps, and I was probably walking about 5 miles a day.
Yeah.
But other than that, just
Nice.
cardio. I didn't really lift weights or anything like that.
That's the shit, dude. Cardio and diet. Who knew?
Yeah.
What they've been saying forever.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with
Yeah.
lifestyle. Because like when I first met you and stuff, I know you were gaming a lot. You like you said, you'd eat one time a day or whatever, then just game.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Sit at your house. And I remember watching your dad eat an ear of corn, and he had a stick of butter per ear of corn. He was like,
Yeah.
dude, it tasted good and shit. And like the food your dad would make, oh my god,
Oh, it was delicious.
so good. But I always say, don't trust a skinny cook. And your dad's always been a big guy, and I'm like, well, he can cook.
Yeah, he can.
Yeah. So you're smart as hell, right? Good games.
A little bit. I don't know if
Kinda
I would
go
call
hand in
myself
hand.
smart as hell, but I'm pretty all right.
Capable.
So, I guess for people listening, just psychologically, what was it in you that actually decided to make that change? Because, like we just said, everybody knew it was cardio and etc., but a lot of people can't do that. Or they can't find it within themselves to do that. Or, like, they can't execute.
Well, I think part of it was being broke, really, because I was like, well, I need to force myself to get a job, and I need to just start cranking this out, and it was hard, and I started sweating, and then I realized, I checked the scale one day, and I was like, wait a minute. It's like, I'm losing weight on accident. So I'm like, all right, bro, I'm going to run with it as hard as I can, and then once I realized that I could do it, and I just did it, and the biggest problem is most people just think they can't do it.
Yeah.
And there is no limitations. It's what's in your mind.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's pretty damn awesome. So
I
you
feel
had
like,
like a little head start and then kind of kicked it off.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
those
That's
little
shit.
things can be a psychological boost. And that's why I tell people, like, don't, like, the big number, when you're looking at, like, you're sick and tired of being broke and sick and tired of being overweight, and if you look at the bigger picture, it's like, man, that's overwhelming. But then you start accidentally losing a little bit of weight here and there, and it's like, that gave you that little mental, boost to keep going. And that's what I tell people. Don't look at the scale, the big numbers or whatever. Just, the littlest things can be a psychological boost to keep you going.
Definitely.
Angelo, now as far as you go, same type of question. I know you've made strides, leaps and bounds from the day I met you into where you are today. I know none of us are where we want to be, But, as long as we're making those strides, day in and day out with consistency, we're going to get where we want to be. But as far as your biggest obstacles, insecurities, how have you overcome them, or how are you challenging that idea to become a better person today? And what
deep ass question.
Yeah, what
Definitely.
what might be something that our audience can relate from, because our struggles aren't individually like unique. Everybody goes through insecurities and self-doubt, not believing we're good enough, not believing we have the skills and capabilities to achieve the goals. But like Jacob, as far as taking those little strides to change your life, we all know it's cardio and diet. However, we don't take those steps to overcome it.
So let me ask, like, what part of me, because you're gonna have like a wide audience, like it's gonna be a very wide audience, but then there's gonna be certain sectors that are listening to this right now. What part of me do you want me to channel? Like the entrepreneur? Like, is this specifically for the mastermind? Is this specifically for like you said, like kind of like personal things that I would do that would lead to other development? Who's this framed towards?
Well, the mastermind is a principle, as far as like when we come together, our spiritual, energetic energy being molded together to challenge our frame of thoughts, and then it embodies a whole different, realm of possibilities. But the individual, they're struggling with day-to-day life. Mm-hmm. And yes, they might want to be a mastermind, they might want to be an entrepreneur, but if they don't overcome the simplest things in life, it can hinder them from even taking those larger steps. So, personally in your development as becoming the entrepreneur that you want to be, what are the things that have challenged you the most and made you doubt yourself, and how did you overcome them? That might be a broad question.
I'm going to channel this because it's this whole past week just working on this business.
Okay.
Being a leader is hard as shit. We can.
Oh yeah.
Being a leader is hard as shit. The hardest thing for me as a leader is, I know a lot of people are going to vibe with this. It is my own humbleness when it comes down to it, but it's having your team or your people give you advice that is wrong advice and just taking it on the head. It's hearing people out when you know that they're wrong. And there are plenty of times when I'm like, I could be wrong, you could be wrong. There are plenty of times when you know that somebody is wrong in what they're doing. And I know you have like Jocko and people like that on the extreme side say, well, you're never wrong. And you're supposed to treat it like that functionally. But for me, it's very hard for me to give tacit approval when it's not necessary to speak up sometimes. Like, for example, if I have somebody that wants to give me advice on how to run this part of the business, they're fucking wrong. They've never been in that position before. But because of their personality, it matters to them that I hear what they're saying so that they can prove to themselves that I'm humble. Even if they're wrong, I know they're not going to let it go. And on top of that, it's not their job to let it go. So what I have to do is take the third option and say, even though I'm not wrong, even though I'm going to do things the way I've already been doing things, I will let this person be heard out on their perspective. Now it can become problematic because you give a mouse a cookie, they want the whole damn box. I sit there and I go, yeah, let me hear your advice. And then they think they're my advisor for the rest of my life, which is not going to happen. However, again, being humble and hearing people out who don't know what they're talking about, sometimes strategically needed in business, probably more often than not. So yeah, my thing is if I talk to a C-level type person, I can be super fucking blunt. I can be like, this is bullshit, this is trash, this needs to change, this needs to happen, or I'm not even going to move forward on this. And they'll be like, I respect that, let's go. Speaking with anybody else in the business is more of like, how do I pussyfoot around just enough to where I'm not ruining your day, but I'm also not being a pushover. So finding that balance in management, leadership to move things forward, that's very fucking hard for me because I'm an impatient person. And I just want to be like, nope, change this shit. I want I want to C-level it with people who aren't C-level, don't want to be C-level, don't like the personality of C-level. Being humble to be around a group of people that's what being a leader is. So, yeah, maybe being humble enough to be adaptable to each situation. That's hard as fuck for me. And to get over it, I just take the nail on the head sometimes just as a practice to not be reactive to people. I know they're wrong. I want to go insane. Just as a practice to not be reactive. Practice over and over being humble. And that's helped a lot for me. Again, I'm not perfect at it. Very difficult for me, but yeah, it's been really hard getting over that. And it's humbled me when I've needed to be humbled plenty enough times to weigh out everything else. So
that reminds me of the concept I learned in business college called interpersonal relationships, and how it's all based on communication. And even though we are inclined to be reactive to situations, people's communication styles, or how abrasive people are or whatever, as a leader, like you said, it is very important not to be reactive, because you act emotionally instead of intellectually. And a lot of times it's like you said, the people just need to be heard, and they need to be known that the leader is listening to you. You're there for, a support as far as you're progressing the vision forward into the future, but your team, you're there to, to lift them up. And, it's like the strongest amongst you must be the most dedicated. It's like what that Jesus saying, or whatever they say, like the strongest among exactly, must be the greatest servant. And that's where it's like, as that powerful person, with great power comes great responsibility. So I do like that, not to be reactive, to be supportive, but also progress the vision forward for the whole team.
Yes. And I would add to that, to transcend that with those same values, that it's more about being contextual. Because being non-reactive is the thing that I deal with, but it's more about being contextual. If I'm with a A-type person, they will get pissed at me if I'm not reactive. Why? Because reactions are faster.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit. They want it to be faster.
Produce results.
If I'm with a C-level and I try to close his business, and I'm like, as weird as it sounds, if I'm polite, he'll be like, get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. I don't have time for this pussy-ass bullshit.
Yeah.
Close the fucking deal. Stop being, et cetera, et cetera. Get the fuck out if you're not going to close the deal. Now, with my people, I have to be like, aww. And it's not disrespectful, because it's what they want. And they will show me over and over that that's what they want, is for me to go, yeah, you're right. It's my fault. I'll take care of it for you. And some people that thing's disrespectful. Some people genuinely want me to be like,
yes,
aw. Those people I can't be reactive to. Again, however, if I go in the CEO's office, he's like, get the fuck out of here before I kill you, dude. Like, stop touching my head.
Right.
Like, so reactive, definitely, but it's about being, yeah, actually, I guess that's a good way to put it, because, yeah, it wouldn't be reactive. It's about being adaptable to different situations, but the C-level will say, you have to talk like this.
Yeah. Well, in context of the situation, like you were saying, what holds value in this situation, in situation A, doesn't necessarily hold the same weight and value in situation B. So you got to be able to adapt and react in the certain situations according to the contents in which you're having those communications. Let's move on to another, as far as a little segment or whatever. Now, Jacob, we talked about your biggest, struggle overcoming and everything. As far as, your dreams, your ambition. I know ambitions can hold weight, on our heart and on our mind, because we want to be the person that, we project in the future. But being in the microwaved age, it's like we want things right now. Right. So it's really hard to, keep going when we feel like, we're not making the strides that we want to make. And it's funny because, like, even though you've come leaps and bounds from where you were a year or two ago, in your mind, you probably feel like you haven't gone very far.
Oh, definitely. I definitely still, I'll get in the dirt sometimes and sit there and think, like, man, I'm nowhere near where I want to be.
Yeah.
Or, what have I been doing? But at the same time, you always have to remind yourself those small steps you've been taking.
Yeah.
And they really do end up being long strides.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like sometimes the world views you or whatever, you know, like when people look at us, they're like, man, look at this dude. Like, look at him making, you know, progress, you know, having a positive mindset. Like, I want to be like this dude. And I was listening to an NF song the other day, and he was talking about how just the life struggles and everything. He's like, yeah, I got a lot of bad days. And it's like we in our mind, we might feel like, you know, we beat ourselves up. We're our own worst enemies. We feel like, you know, depression or whatever comes and goes. Like, you know, that little voice in the background that never goes away. But to the world, they're like, man, I wish I had what this dude's got.
Right, right.
So as far as, you know, moving into the future, what are some of the, you know, things that you believe you need to hold true to get to where you're at as far as like the process? You know, I tell people don't pay attention to the goal because goals don't make the outcome. It's the process that leads to that outcome. And if you follow the wrong process, you're not going to get to the goal you want to get to. So as far as your process, what do you view yourself having to do to get to where you need to go?
It's kind of interesting because right now I am sort of in a new chapter. I'm trying to transition myself to be further. And I'm trying to think here.
It's a lot to think
Yeah,
about.
it is a lot.
Yeah. I didn't know if you had planned anything out or if you are, I tell people don't reinvent the wheel. Find a process that's already worked and then mimic those processes the best you can get so you can get a similar result. You know, so you want to be an influencer.
Right.
Right? You want to use like social platforms in order to inspire people, motivate people to keep going.
Definitely.
So who are some of your inspirations that you watch?
One of my biggest inspirations would have been Kevin Gates, actually, the rapper. I listen to a lot of his music religiously, basically, and he just said, you know, basically, it's the grind. Not every like what you said earlier. Not every situation needs an Afghanistan reaction. There's no need for it.
Yeah.
And
so
yeah, I just listen to that,
cool.
dude.
That's cool. I don't know if you've seen any of the stuff I've been posting, but I'm reading a book by 50 Cent. And I realized by reading this dude's life and everything, 50 Cent's a persona. It's a persona that the world bought. But Curtis Jackson, dude, he is like such a smart, adaptable entrepreneur, grimy businessman. And very inspiring book. If you get the chance, check it out. I'm listening to it on audiobook because it's so much easier. I don't have time to sit down and read a lot, so I'll just pop on like some earbuds or whatever and go about my day and listen to some stuff while I'm already working. But awesome book. And so like when we talk about Kevin Gates or 50 Cent being, you know, an inspiration, a lot of people at face value, they look at the persona that sold the world.
Exactly.
And they're like, man, that dude's, you know,
Right.
he's hood, he's, you know, blah, 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 whatever. But it's like, no, if you only knew what was under the covers,
Exactly.
it's like that picture of the iceberg. You only see this much, but underneath it's like this. And so I get it, man. You get inspiration where you get it. What about you? Kind of same question. What's some of the inspirations that you have as far as people that have really challenged your thoughts and made you reconceptualize your plan of action, how you're going to move forward? I know you got a lot of them because you've shared a lot with me.
I would say the biggest one was just like working at Raziri.
Yeah.
Like doing that.
Hands on.
How much you learn about yourself doing door-to-door sales.
Yeah.
I think obviously like we all have inspirations like our parents, like obviously like, you know, you could look up to your dad, like he's your dad, like
Right.
you could look up to like again like celebrities, stuff like that. Kevin Gates is one of those people where he's like religious. He has like religious spiritual just game to drop on everything.
Right.
So there's like I have tons of inspirations like that and like historical figures. I definitely think that it's a little bit pertinent for people to look up to themselves because there's, I mean, again, like I look up to a lot of people, but for me, struggling as an issue, it's hard to bring it back to me and to say like, what am I doing that would inspire myself at the end of the day? And doing sales is one of those times when I was like definitely holding myself the fuck back, and I don't have anybody to blame, and it's definitely me, and that was a hard fucking smack in the face. So I look up to myself, and not just like me, Angelo, as a person, but like the fact that I'm the accumulation of many great forces of people in my life who have helped me when I needed help and told me I was okay when I was okay and didn't need help. And looking to myself to decide like if that's okay or not. Versus like an outside point of view, etc., etc. So I have fucking amazing mentors, amazing people in my life, amazing friends in my life who literally push me to the point of like questioning how to approach sales and stuff like that no one makes me question myself on. But I look the fuck up, regardless like how this comes out, bro. Like I look the fuck up to myself for taking personal responsibility for myself and then trying to extend that to other people. Which is like a meta-ass answer that could be taken a million different ways, but I think applied. Like you said, like with your thing, bro, like regardless how many people we look up to, like what the fuck was it in you that was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. That's the mystery to me. It's like before you were kind of creeping up on it. Like I've had so many things in life where I like tiptoe and I just like can't figure out why I'm not doing it yet. And I always ask like, why did I finally do that? And that shit's a mystery to me. So like looking up to the self, the unconscious mind, however you want to put it, that's been helpful for me.
I think that's a dope ass perspective. Because it's like relatable. Because like a lot of times, okay, so we have idols and influences within our life that we want to strive to be like, but it's hard to relate that to our personal life. And then how do we integrate those values, morals, whatever, that we see on the outside? How do we internalize it and change, influence ourselves? And it's like if you take that self accountability or personal initiative to say, okay, I see what you're doing, I admire what you're doing, I want to strive to do that, but then you take that hard look in the mirror, self reflection, and it's like, okay, what am I doing day to day to not only move towards those goals, but self sabotage? And how am I my own worst enemy? Because you have to look at the entire picture. You can't just look at it and delusionally optimistic, like, oh, I'm doing so good. But it's like, no, you got to look at the dark and the light, and you got to bring it all together in a perspective to where it's like it makes sense.
And during Rosiri, there's a point where I don't know if you remember Bill.
Yes.
Like, that dude's fucking.
He was a good salesman.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Like me and him went up to Michigan.
Yep.
To a success hypnotist, and I asked him like at the end of it, what do you do? Like because he has tons of athletes and like bowlers for some reason. Tons of athletes come to him. I said, what do they all have in common? What do you work on here? And he said, what you have to do if you want to move forward is you have to succeed once and meditate on that success forever. So like basketball player, they'll make the ball in, and the rest of the night they'll just remember just what it felt like, how like every little micro, you get what I'm saying, every micro move, every micro decision they made, and the exact state they were in when they did that. And they remember that over and over and over. So if we can take those times where we actually move forward on something, and instead of, some people say like don't look at yourself a certain way when you're negative, but they also don't say when you do something dope, reward yourself. Yeah. Be like, that's fucking dope. Like tell yourself like,
right,
fuck yeah. But at the same time, if you're beating up on yourself, people be like, oh man, you don't gotta do that. But if you're like, I'm proud of myself, people are like, tone it down a little bit, buddy.
Right. You're being arrogant.
Yeah.
So like, once you do something dope, bro, like, I just think it's important to meditate on that in a way where it's holistic and to actually think about the times where you didn't have that and what was getting in the way and just fucking appreciate the part of you that was like, yeah, I'm about to pull the trigger, make the decision for the rest of your life. You have that in your head. Like, dude, I pulled the trigger before. I'll do it again. Whatever it was in me that did that, it's going to happen twice. Like, it'll happen over and over.
There's this concept, and I first learned about it through the law of attraction, and it talks about how we manifest the things that we want, and a lot of us dwell on the negative aspects of life, and that becomes a reoccurring instance in our lives. Like, why do things spiral out of control when we wake up and hit our toe, first thing in the morning? Because that emotional interpretation of the first step out of the day. And when you're talking about meditating on the feeling of, you know, the success. So you have a cognitive realization of, okay, this is the projection I want to go into the future. These are the goals I want to accumulate. But if you can't visualize yourself accepting that person as a reality and then living that life, but then emotionally feeling the reward of that instance becoming true, like the emotions amplify the energy in which we move forward with, because everything is energy. It's cause and effect. You get out what you put in, and if you can't amplify the energy to a realistic, optimistic, positive realization, then you're going to have too many obstacles going against you, because the world is negative, the world is dark. When society, you know, when you tell them, oh, I'm going to rise above mediocrity, I mean, you don't tell them that, but you're like, I want $100 million by the time I'm 40 years old.
Right.
Realistically, people are gonna laugh at you, call you crazy. They're gonna be like, dude,
this kid
this
should have
dude's
called me
crazy.
That's what I was like, I quit my job and I'm investing now and I'm gonna do all this shit. And they're like, you're dumb as fuck.
I know, right?
I'm like, I mean, it's that or I'm gonna sit at a factory for another 40 years, bro. I ain't doing it.
That's one of those things that's hard too. Is just, that's what I mean, not flipping out on that and being like, you know what the fuck ever.
Right,
I'm gonna just
exactly.
do me. I don't give a shit. Like,
Yeah.
Have whatever thought you want to have.
So, okay, now on a whole nother thing, it's like, what do you want to leave the audience with as far as like something you just want to share off the cuff, you know, whatever, just as far as, you know, who you are and a message you might have to deliver? On the spot. Huh?
Yeah, that's definitely on the spot. I'm gonna go with Jacob Buer, I guess. I've already said this a couple times before, maybe not on here, but just follow your dreams, dude. It really is. It just seems like a dream because everybody tells you it's a dream. Mm-hmm. Wake up and go get it.
Yeah, you can fail doing something you love, and you can fail doing something you hate. You might as well go for your passion, go for your dream. I believe if your dreams don't scare you, they're too small.
Definitely.
Yeah. What about you, Angelo?
It's just crazy. Before I even got here, I was like, we all have the same answer, and that's why we're all sitting here right now.
Right. I need a negative person in here, but like, y'all stupid.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, right.
Subway's hard. Like,
right.
honestly, what we all have in common with this, which like the way I phrase it, is bringing God's feet to the earth. The thing that we all share is that we have spirit, bro. Mm-hmm. Like, we believe in ourselves, and I'm sure all three of us have had times in our lives where things have been shit.
Oh, definitely.
So, a lot of people, they haven't had shit, you feel me? Like, they haven't been through the shit. So they haven't had to find their spirit, which is like belief under pressure, under circumstance, under any situation, just belief in like a can-do. Like, dude, if it makes you feel any better, we all die when we get to the end anyways. So fuck, you might as well do your best anyways.
Right.
Like,
Right.
So I think that's what it is. Just believe in the human spirit.
And quit worrying about what other people see. I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you see when you look in the mirror?
Exactly.
And what are you willing to do to change it? My dad, you said that don't worry about the shit. My dad always said, and he's the most pessimistic person that I've ever met. Like, but he's a old school alpha male to where he does get results. He does, do very good for himself financially. But in relations to other people, he is poor as can be. He has no real good relationships. He's always alone. People don't want to be around him. He's a miserable person. And he always said, life's a shit sandwich. You better hope for some thick bread. And I'm just like, no, fuck that. Life is not a shit sandwich. I'm not going to fucking be one of those people. They say, average person dies at 25, but we don't bury them until they're 85.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Never.
Fucking terrifying.
Yeah. And I heard this other guy saying, he's like, what's the richest per place in the world? And he's like, it's the cemetery. Because in the cemetery, there's ideas that were never formulated. There's inventions that were never created. There's dreams and ambition that died with the human, spirit that were in them to be great, but they never realized it or challenged their own, ideas. And that's a dope perspective because I ain't gonna be that way.
And it's easy to not challenge it too, because as humans, we like complacency.
Yes.
I mean,
easiness, like
pretty dope.
Nobody wants to go do it because their anxiety goes up.
They might fail.
It's nerve-wracking. Yeah, and nobody wants to fail, especially in front of a bunch of people.
Right.
And as soon as you realize that it doesn't matter, well, those people aren't watching you anyways.
No.
They gonna forget.
Yeah, it's like everybody's got their own tunnel vision, but we think all the eyes are on us.
Exactly.
So it's like if you fail, yeah, you know, you might get laughed at for a period of time, whatever.
Some people make a decision.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing everything.
Dakota.
You know, I really appreciate this dialogue. It was really dope. You know, yeah, we'll have to do it again.
Definitely.
If this brought you value, if you like the perspective we brought, make sure you smash the like button down below, share with a friend, comment. Let us know how, you know, you thought of this, what you can bring to the table, because this isn't just, you know, the three of us talking today. This is a huge global, you know, mission that we're trying to connect people. So your perspective is just as important as our perspective. You got some doubts, you got some criticism, share them down below. You got some motivation, inspiration, you know, share them down below, because there's other people that, you know, need inspired along the way.
Good job, gentlemen.
All right.
Yep.